I am Christy Thomas. So I work as a senior principal program manager for a multinational company. So I have a total of 22 years of IT experience, and I enable cross-functional teams to achieve their common goal with quality and on schedule. So I have a lot of responsibilities which lie on me to make sure everything goes smooth. And I hail from the southern part of India, a state called Kerala, and I got a chance to work in Mumbai, and finally I landed up in Chennai, and I'm here for the last 16 years. So I'm a caring father of two wonderful teenage daughters, and a loving husband to my beautiful wife.
You've always had a beautiful smile. That's one thing that I've always admired about you. Your face is just now glowing all the more, and it's so wonderful to see. Let's talk about how life was for Zenith, Mr. Christy.
Sure. For my role, I was required to conduct meetings, that too with some pre-laid outcomes. So I was finding very difficult most of the times, and with exiting meetings with a frown and with unresolved issues. That was my pre-Zenith reality. So most of the meetings will go out of focus, or somebody will come and hijack, and somebody will also come at the last and ask me, by the way, why did we meet in the first place? So that was my pre-Zenith reality. So I realized that these questions came more often, and I wanted to change it. So I searched the internet for solutions, and I got the techniques, which I already know, that you have to prefix the agenda and then time box the meeting and make sure that you are getting back to the point. But it didn't really help me. So one another day, I was just browsing through the internet, and Gurleen ma'am's video popped up. Oh, that was my Eureka moment. I was completely resonated with the purpose of the program, and that was the moment, and that was considered as my Eureka moment. So that is one of the biggest thing or biggest desire I wanted out of this program. And even I used to write emails, even if it is a very small piece of information. I used to go from A, then to C, and then to B. But finally, the person who is reading never bothered to go beyond point A to see what I'm trying to communicate. That was my second thing. And as a person, as a leader, I was like always available, even on calls or mails, over the chat, even I'm on a vacation. So that is kind of, keeping myself losing my authority or losing my respect and burdening the team with an over dependency. So that is the third one, which I thought, okay, I should correct it, or I should rectify it.
You came in, of course, to work on certain professional aspects of your life. That was the primary goal with which you came in, that you wanted to stop being taken for granted, and you wanted to be seen very differently by the leadership in your company, by the people that you were leading. And that obviously happened. And I want to talk more about that, but a little later. I want to first talk about the other different aspects of your life that experienced a change because of Zenith. Because I know your professional life took a very profound turn. People started seeing you very differently. But I also know that certain other aspects of your life also changed. So would you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So parenting a teenager these days is a very cumbersome task. So I'll say that, even I have two teenage daughters, and I started thinking or applying my learnings, like, okay, how can I apply that and solve some of the issues which she has. So I had a lot of multiple discussions with her before, until I see some results only after I applied some of the learnings from here, like empathetic listening and outcome-driven approach. And the other one is about one of the conversations which I had with one of my senior leaders. He was a visualizer. So the whole visualizers out there, it's for you. When I started the conversation, he was asking for some data, and I was actually able to give him the input where he wanted, how he wanted, and exactly in a consumable way. So he was so appreciative about how I dealt with that situation and given him that information with the composure throughout the conversation.
You mentioned, when you talked about what your pre-Zenith reality was like, that when you used to interact with people, you were very good at what you do. You're at a very respectable company in a very respectable position, but somehow you were being taken for granted. You were not able to establish your invisible authority, and you were struggling to be seen as the leader that you are. So let's jump into that. How has the way that people now see you in your professional life and the way that they respect you now, how has that changed?
Now, the main thing or a game changer for me was following the not to do list. Most of the programs will talk about, these are the things you should do, and you have to follow this, you will attain some goal. No, here it's entirely different here. So the not to do list is very powerful. So I started using that on a daily life. So by applying, listen to people, give respect to them, and don't be a silent listener. So it's more of them or more of you than me. So that's actually a very phenomenal shift of thinking. And people started asking me curious questions. What happened to you? Or I can see that from the circle which I interact with my team. So they finally came into me and what happened to you? So what happened all of a sudden? That is the kind of transformation. I don't say it is 12 weeks. It is that even I count the seconds with this program, which helped me to grow into that state.
So beautiful, Mr. Christy, when you said that I even count the seconds. Very few participants have that perspective, that for me, every moment that I'm in this program is a moment that I'm not going to get back, and I better utilize it like that. And I think that is one of the reasons that you're such an inspiration to your community members. And speaking of the not to do list, I can see it right there. I can see that you have a look at it every single day. That's amazing. Awesome. You've already talked about, the fact that people started asking you, and the fact that the not to do list was at the core of the way that you changed interacting with your team members. But as a leader, how did you change the way that you led your people?
I always give preference to them, what they are trying to convey. So giving a patience on the listening, or an empathetic listener. And I use all the techniques. Like I could see the objections right away from any communication nowadays. So I have that maturity to step into the other person's shoes and see what can be the objection, what else you can see, what they are going to communicate. I can simply tell one example of banging the door. So there was one example Gurleen ma'am told me for one of the sessions. That has a different perspective altogether. I thought that is the kind of thought process or unwiring I had gone through. So I can now see what else they are trying to convey. So what is the root cause of this person being with me now?
So I think that's a very, very profound learning that you have taken away. And being a leader doesn't necessarily mean that you will have that maturity to understand that the other person needs to come first. And I love the fact that you mentioned that, okay, now I'm mature enough in my intelligence that I know that the other person has to come first. I absolutely loved that. I want to talk to you about something that a lot of corporate professionals struggle with, Mr. Christy, and this is something that you wanted to work on as well, especially because you're such a nice person. Saying no is often very difficult, but it seems that now you've mastered the art of saying no, setting your boundaries, and yet being able to maintain your position, respect, and the value of that relationship with the people in your professional life. So how has that changed? How was it earlier and how is it now?
For me, I used to think twice, thrice before I say no. So it's very hard me to actually say no. Now I step back. I took a step back. I'll say that, oh yeah, this is a wonderful thing. You considered me in the first case. So because of these reasons, I'm not able to do this right now. Is it okay if I can do it later, a couple of days later, or I can actually think about it and come back to you? So Earlier I used to say, oh yeah, I'll do that. It's like overcommitting. Like, even though I am not, my mind says, okay, somehow I have to do that, but I am overcommitting. So, which sometimes, end up me in doing all the work or everything together. So now I am taking a step back and saying, okay, I'm not saying a no upfront. I'm actually understanding again. I'm listening to the person and then taking a step back and upfront telling him that, okay, this is the thing, and I'm very glad that you consider me for this.
I understand this wasn't the primary objective that you came into the program with, your relationships. The relationships that you also now share in your personal life have taken a very profound shift. As I understand, earlier there used to be very certain expectations, and that there used to be certain perception that you had about other people, that other people in your personal life had about you, which is now completely transformed. You exist in a much happier place in your relationships now. So would you like to talk a little bit about that? How was that earlier and how has that changed now?
My close friends. So I used to interrupt them. Sometimes I take it for granted. So I'll complete their sentences, even if in a gathering. So it is a liberty in one way. But now I realize that I have to be a little more patient. So I used to fill their sentence. I jump into their sentence and make conclusions out of that and things like that. But since it's a close friend circle, I never felt that, okay, it had an impact. But now, not interrupting people in their conversation, giving them a listening or a partial listening. It was like, okay, I know what he's going to say. Judgment. I used to judge people. Okay, maybe this guy is like this always, but now no judgment. I open my mind and I listen to them. Okay, what they want to, no prejudgment, what they want to convey. I'll just listen and then respond.
One thing that communication intelligence teaches is that every relationship matters just as any other. And there is no space for any of these relationships to be taken for granted. And you're absolutely right in that the not to do list comes, because we think that these are the things we should do, but it's actually the not to do's that have a very big damage. They jeopardize our relationships in a way that nothing else can heal. I want to know, Mr. Christy, what have you learned about yourself during the program? Because I understand the reason for that gratitude and for that happiness and for the glow on your face is that you've been able to heal the little Christy inside. So what have you learned about yourself from the program?
Zenith actually motivated me to transcend that sorrows and elevated my emotion. So now, last year, 2023, I planned a vacation in Kerala to celebrate the Christmas along with my family. And it was different. We embarked on a 700 kilometers road trip. And we were creating memories all throughout the journey. And we had visited we were there at my place and we cooked. It was a new experience altogether. I motivated them, my family, and I was actually feeling an invisible warmth of my parents during and after the journey. That was the big experience or change in the way I felt earlier. Now I am much more motivated person, and I can actually spread that motivation.
Purpose that Gurleen ma'am has. She always mentions that she wants to touch 1 million lives through communication intelligence. And those 1 million lives comes through participants like you. Communication intelligence and just one family member can change the entire experience for the entire family. So it's really inspiring what you just shared. It took a lot of courage, I'm sure. But thank you so much for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Mr. Christy, I think even a lot of most participants come into the program having communication skills at the back of their mind. But you now know that this program is all about communication intelligence. Communication skills is probably just 5-7% of it. So what have you now realized is the difference between communication skills and communication intelligence?
Yeah, so that is a myth. So even people will think about, okay, communication intelligence, it's all about using fancy vocabulary. And high profile talks and things like. No, it's not. It's actually words. Words are powerful. So more than that, it is about how you project yourself or how you connect with people. So that is the most important thing, the connection. So that connection will happen when you openly communicate with people. It's not about you have prejudgments or judgments about what the person is going to tell you. It's not like that. So it's more about how you connect. So for connecting with people, so communication intelligence plays a major role. As I mentioned earlier, so there are a lot of techniques which this laid out, and I think Gurleen ma'am has handcrafted this course. She has tried herself, tested, refined. So I can see that this is the whole framework. One can actually just follow it, and you will be reaching your goal. It is the holistic program. It's not about one aiming on one particular goal. You are like so as I mentioned in the center, I was like a person who asked for a single flower, and God has gifted me a beautiful garden. So the garden is of intelligence, confidence, the elevated emotions in professional and personal life. It's more about, it's not at all about the way you use the fancy vocabulary. It's more about creating connections across people and touching lives. By that, you are going to touch their lives too.
Absolutely, Mr. Christy. You couldn't have put it in a better way. I think what you have said is very right. Communication intelligence is about words. Words come a lot from your internal communication. And I always say this, but I think that's the reason that you're able to develop the intelligence to use the right words, because you've healed your internal communication first. And at some point, you're able to rewire yourself in a manner that you automatically know that this is not going to be the right word to use. This word is going to have a certain negative connotation to it, and I better steer away from it. What makes Gurleen ma'am stand out as a mentor to you?
Oh, she's my lifetime mentor. So she always motivates people, and she's like a motherly figure. So she knows what exactly each individual needs, not want. It's about the need. So she can actually cater those needs and hold them. That is an important thing. It's not about following some theory. It's not about giving something. She leads by example. So she has put a lot of effort. I can see that to develop this program. She herself mentioned 2 times the energy and time she puts to develop each program masterclass. It's wonderful. So she's putting her heart to it. Because of that, we are, as mentees, we are able to gain, or we are able to achieve the goals from her class. Talking about her, she's such a nice person. She's literally touching lives. I'm wishing her to reach her goal of touching 1 million people so soon. So I'll do my part. So there are a lot of people who don't even know, okay, fine, this is okay, communication intelligence, okay, it's about how you speak, fine. No, it's more than that. As I mentioned about my life, it's a holistic approach, and she puts everything to that, and she's refining it. How for each class she is having that, okay, what is the outcome I'm going to provide, and what is the need of my people. So that's really great, and she's a great human being.
I find it so important that you said that ma'am is able to focus on what every participant needs, not what they want. I want to understand, Mr. Christy, there were a lot of different elements that make communication intelligence what it is. There's the live sessions with Gurleen ma'am, there are live discussion forums with me, your assignments, and the feedbacks that you get, the community members. How have these different elements of the program contributed to your growth over the last weeks?
Gurleen ma'am put a lot of effort and to see what exactly we need. That is something very unique about this program. It's not like one-on-one, or it's about only giving. It's give and take. You are actually getting. You are even if you are not very attentive there, you are in the back of your mind. you are getting the experience from interacting people, how to interact with them, how to even you are first connecting with your community, that before you go out. So I can see even after the last class, I could see how people think about me, or that was a different perspective. I was very happy to hear about me from my close community out there. So that is a wonderful thing, differentiating factor of this program, being in a community and having this kind of masterclass. And nevertheless, I want to talk about your interactive sessions. So very lively, and that gives a practical knowledge. Whatever we learn in the masterclass, the next week, the upcoming week, you will have an interactive session, and you lead it awesomely. So I can say that it is very practical, and we are actually learning that techniques in a very practical way, doing role plays, how you can actually interact there. So those are the very differentiating factors for this program.
A lot of people saying that one-on-one is again what they need to become intelligent in the communication, but you put it very beautifully when you said it's give and take. And not necessarily because you're interacting, but also because when you are in the community, a lot of times you don't realize, but you end up being an inspiration for somebody else, and that's the part that you are contributing to their growth and as well as to your own growth, because you realize that now I have a responsibility to make sure that because of me, nobody else is getting demotivated, that I rather become a reason to make others do better, and vice versa. That's a very beautiful perspective. I've never, heard of that before, but I really love that you mentioned that. Is communication intelligence important for every working professional? And if yes, why?
Absolutely. It's not about working professional. I think every person needs it, actually. Most of the people. So it's human. So everyone needs this course. That is my strong feeling, because the way I experienced it personally profounds that importance of having this course to be done by everyone, not about working professionals alone. It resonates with the importance of having or being a better human being. So that is the thing I wanted to underline and say. It is more about code of life. How that again, code of life is the keyword. You breathe, you eat, you walk like a Zenith. So it's you smile when you see people, you greet them. So those are the very small shifts, but which makes a lot of difference. So I'll summarize it as it is a code of life and resonates with a big importance of a better human being.
Beautiful, Mr. Christy. There is no better way for us to be able to end this interaction. So just allow me to thank you for your time today. It was such a pleasure interacting with you today. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure, ma'am.